Hi, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Jordan. I am the founder of Kosha Fit, which is an activewear brand that I started a few years ago. I am so excited for today's video. I feel like I was always so hesitant to post kind of the behind the scenes of running an e-commerce brand and what it actually looks like, because I know a lot of you guys follow me for fitness and wellness content. But over the years, I have become so passionate about e-commerce, and I feel like there's so much I've learned that I've just kind of figured out as I went, because when I first started, there was no information whatsoever out there. I really just Googled everything. So my hope with this video is that it inspires at least one of you or gives you some kind of insight. Maybe you want to start a business or you're just curious about what it actually looks like behind the scenes. I am going to provide you so many different tips and resources that I wish I had when I was first starting out. So I thought I'd break the video into a few different chapters, my story, how I got into even owning a brand in the first place. And I want to share some mistakes that I made, because there was a lot of them. The systems and platforms that I use to make everything run super smoothly, some advice that I have for you guys, especially when it comes to clothing specifically. And then I also did a Q&A story box on my Instagram, and a lot of you guys asked me amazing questions. So I'm going to answer as many of those as I can. So grab a notebook, because you're definitely going to want to take some notes, and we'll jump right in. So first, let's dive into why I started Kosha Fit and what it actually means. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that mental health is literally everything to me. And I think for someone who's never been through it, they can't really understand what depression or anxiety or any of these mental health issues are. But if you've been through it, you know it's the most important part of life. You could have everything around you, but if your mind's not good, you can't fully enjoy it. You're never going to fully be there and present. And during college, I guess as far back as high school, but in college, I was really struggling with my mental health, to the point that I was studying abroad and I had to get flown home early from the program because they could not figure out what was wrong with me. I went to 10 different doctors doing so many different tests. I had MRI on my brain, all these different heart tests, vitamin tests, you name it. I feel like I'm so educated on the healthcare system now because of how much I went through in that small period of time. At one point, they thought I had a brain tumor. They thought I had MS. I would get so dizzy and feel like I was going to pass out. And long story short, it really all came down to mental health. So that put me on this path to try to figure out how I could never let this get in the way of my life again, and how I could really be in the driver's seat and in control of my mind. So I ended up taking this course called the Quarter Life Calling. My mom actually enrolled me in it, and it was with this amazing human named Kobe Kozlowski. During the program, there was one concept that really stuck out to me, which was called the koshas. And essentially, it's the 5 layers of you. This idea comes from an ancient Vedic text, but I was so obsessed with it as this tangible way to make decisions each day and ultimately live in alignment with the highest version of myself. The 5 koshas are your physical body, your energy, your mind, your wisdom, kind of this higher self perspective, and then the deepest layer of you, which is this state of pure inner peace and gratitude. And so for that part of the course, she had us wear something around our wrist, like a hair tie or a scrunchie, that would remind us throughout the day to make decisions based on these different layers of us. So going to the gym, getting proper nutrients and rest, meditation, journaling, whatever we needed to do to make sure that each kosha was aligned. And let me just say, that week was the most transformational week of my entire life, which is where I started thinking, okay, if this could make such an impact on me, and the first thing I do every morning is get dressed, why not put it on my clothes so that every morning when I get up and the first thing I do is put on activewear because I'm going to go work out, it would be this reminder to me to show up based on this version of myself. So at first, I was honestly just doing it for me. And then I started to realize that there was a huge gap in the market, because clothing is such a massive industry. I mean, think about it. It's an absolute essential. Everyone has to wear clothes, but so many brands really meant nothing at all. Even the biggest activewear brands, there was no real meaning or substance behind them. Don't get me wrong, the quality can be exceptional and you can feel amazing in activewear, but I just wanted to give it some kind of deeper meaning because of how much it impacted me, which is why I ended up starting Kosha Fit. And that's what the logo represents, the 5 koshas. So as you can imagine, I was so excited to bring this idea to life. It was all I could think about because it had such an impact on me. I wanted everyone else to experience that same transformation, especially my girls who have been struggling with mental health and feeling so lost, because I know how isolating it can be. At the time, I was working for Chewy, which is a dog and cat kind of like pet supply company, if you haven't heard of it. And so I did have the smallest amount of e-commerce experience, but definitely was in over my head when I started. I had no fashion experience, no idea how to start a business. I didn't even know what Shopify was, which is the platform we run everything through. I was literally just Googling every single thing as I went. There was no TikTok, no ChatGPT, none of these resources that you guys have that are absolutely amazing and still teach me something new every single day. But the one big lesson that I learned during this time that I'm so proud of my past self for is that I just took the action. I didn't have this path laid out in front of me, but I just took the first step that seemed right and I figured it out as I went. I'm going to put up on the screen for you guys just so you have some perspective my first product photos. I delegated Joey, who's my now husband, to take pictures of me. I ordered a white bed sheet that we could hang on the wall. He would just take them on his phone and I would upload them to this website. At the time, I only had a few thousand followers on Instagram and I would just post them to my high school people, my college people, and I was so scared, but I just did it anyways. The first, I would say 6-ish months, I was more just doing it as like a side hobby, still working at Chewy. And during that period, I was honestly confused about how I was ever going to make this into a legitimate business. Every time I would get an order in the beginning, even if it was like one a week, I would be so excited. I was like jumping up and down when I heard the notification go off. And I was just filled with gratitude that someone would even want to buy my product. But honestly, it has taken me a long time to get to where I am today. And I think that's such an important reminder because you can feel like you're doing everything and you're so passionate and you know this is what you're meant to do in life. But when you're scrolling on social media, it's so easy to get into that comparison trap and see these girls making like hundreds of thousands on their very first launch or just seeming like they're an overnight success. I wish I could scream from the rooftops that it takes time to build something. And a lot of these girls who you see that have this overnight business success, they've been posting on social media for 10 plus years. And the first 4 years, they had no growth at all, no brand deals, no community. So it's kind of weird because I started my business and then started posting more on the personal brand side. But I just want you to remember that everyone has a different journey. And even if it seems like you're at no followers, you've never posted before, you have no business idea at all, everyone's path is different. I think in the beginning, I spent too much time focusing on other people's success, where if I would have fed that energy into my own content, into my own business that I was building, I would have grown a lot faster. So keep that in mind when you're starting out. Everyone is on their own divine timing, and you really do just have to surrender to your path. Okay, now that you know a little bit about my story and how I got started, I want to give you more practical tips about clothing brands specifically, because so many of the questions I get are like, how did you find a supplier? How do you package and fulfill orders? How do you accept payment? How do you build a website? So I'm going to give you some tips that have really worked best for me. First, let's talk about suppliers. I truly believe that the most important relationship you can have is the one you have with your supplier. You need someone who is going to be extremely responsive, respectful, willing to negotiate, especially in the beginning if you are working with very low minimums, because if you don't know, when you're designing custom products, a lot of times the fabric quantities are insane, and you're going to need to find someone who really sees the potential in you and what you're starting and is willing to start small and grow with you. You want to ask for their certifications and everything up front to make sure that they're ethical, they're a company that you would really want to work with, and really get as much background information as you can. The supplier that I work with now, I am so grateful for her and the entire team. They feel like family to me at this point, and they're always open to trying my crazy ideas. For example, the built-in chest pad bras. These took us almost a year to make, but they were so patient with me. I went through over 6 rounds of samples with them, and they were just always happy to keep helping and working with me. You're probably going to be talking to them at random hours, like 10 p.m. or sometimes I have meetings at like 5 a.m. just to work with both of our schedules. So it's really important to be flexible. Next, for Kosha's website, fulfilling orders and accepting payment, all of that, we use Shopify, and it is absolutely amazing. I honestly don't think there's any other platform in the game that does it like Shopify, and you can build your website directly on there. We use a custom theme just to make sure that we can customize all the product pages and everything to make it an easy and seamless customer experience for our community. And it's super affordable, especially if you're just starting out. Another tip that I learned along the way, I think it's really easy when you see all of these big businesses doing a drop every single month to think that you need a million products and that you always have to be dropping something new in order to post on Instagram about your products. But for me, what's worked best for us and our community is to have core products that you guys can keep coming back to again and again in different colors, because ultimately my goal is to have Kosha Fit be the favorite leggings that someone grabs out of their drawer each morning, that they're raving about to their friends, instead of being the brand that has 500 million products. Of course, everyone's going to have a different strategy, but that's what I've found works best for us. And I'm really glad that I've been leaning into my intuition with that, because from the beginning, it always felt so stressful. And I realized that Building this business should be fun to me. It should be fun to my consumer. It should be the most amazing experience all around rather than this chase for the next best product. And know that your products will get better over time. When I look at my very first product compared to now, the improvement is insane. But think about how many measurement meetings I've had since then, how many consumer feedback surveys I've had, how much feedback I've gotten from my community and reviews about what you guys are liking and not liking about the product. And so you kind of mold it over time based on what your community specifically likes. It's crazy because my mom owns a yoga studio, but for the longest time, it was right in front of me and I didn't realize that I had this whole community of women who would love to try it out. So now we do fit meetings across all sizes to make sure that everything is perfect before we place bulk orders. So definitely do what you can to find people that can test it. Even if it's just a few of your friends that you'd like to send the product to and they could give you feedback, the more feedback you get up front, the way easier and more seamless the entire experience is going to be when you do bring a product to market. Okay, the next burning question that everyone wants to know is how do you actually sell all these products? How do you bring in consistent revenue every single month where you don't have to have another job or something else going on the side? I think what a lot of people don't realize is there are so many different funnels and channels that you can drive traffic from. For example, I have a whole side of the business that's wholesale, meaning that we're in all these different yoga and Pilates studios and fitness studios. That part has nothing to do with social media, but is an amazing way to build brand awareness, get bigger sales that help with placing larger bulk orders. And these partnerships are also amazing for like brand events at the studios. Another way is email and SMS marketing. That is absolutely huge. So before every drop, we have a wait list to sign up for early access. If it sells out, we have a restock list. And just every time a customer places an order, they're on the email list if they subscribe to marketing. So when a new drop is coming, we are able to send it to all of these people. So even if they're not checking their social media, it's still top of mind for them. Obviously, organic social media is great, but I personally think even better. I know a lot of brands don't run ads, but I find that Facebook ads are amazing for actually being able to scale, especially if you already have content that's performing really well organically. It's such a great way to just feel like you have more control over it instead of just like hoping for the algorithm to perform. And I didn't run ads for the longest time because I was like, oh, no one really buys from Facebook anymore. But boy, was I wrong. They know exactly who to send your ads to. And it's such a great way to bring in more community. And when you have this amazing customer experience, amazing quality and sets that women absolutely love, then your return customer rate is super high. So even if you pay for that customer up front, they're going to place orders again and again and again, tell their friends, which builds brand awareness and word of mouth, and they'll be part of the community. So it's such a great way to really feel like you're growing your business instead of just putting something out there and hoping for the best. Right now, Kosha Fit is only on Meta ads, but we've thought about doing maybe TikTok and Pinterest in the future. So far, that's been a really great funnel to really build out what we already have running organically. I will say though, those definitely perform better once you already have some kind of social proof and you've been building up with that organic content that's giving them free value. So for example, for 2 years, I've been posting workouts, wellness tips, and all these things that my community already loves. So when you go to the brand from an ad, it already looks a lot more established, which is why patience is key because it all really starts to compound over time. Okay, guys, sorry, the camera died. We are back. Now let's talk about actually scaling this business. So you're making consistent sales. You're starting to build a community. How in the world do you actually scale a business? My number one tip is that you have to release control and start delegating as soon as you can. There's a really good book that I recommend that taught me so much about this. It's called The E-Myth Mastery, I think. Let me just make sure. E-Myth Revisited. That is such a good book that teaches you really how to delegate. But I think it's super common when you start a business to feel like everything has to fall on you and it can become so lonely and isolating. You don't think anyone could do these tasks as good as you, or what if they mess up and then it falls on you? That was something I really struggled with because Kosha was obviously so emotionally connected to me that it felt like it was like my child. Like I didn't want to just give up all control. But this actually allowed me to expand so much and a lot faster. The truth is you need a team if you want to scale. And there's so many people who are going to be so aligned with you and help you out so much to the point that they do things way better than I ever could. So now I have a full team and I can't imagine where I'd be without them. But things that I probably held on to a little too long were packaging my own orders. There was a period where I was spending hours every day counting inventory and packaging orders. And this really created a ceiling in my business because I could only sell as many sets as I could pack on my own. Getting everything into the 3PL was one of the scariest things I've ever done, but also the most freeing. They know how to do it best. They have a whole barcode system in place to make sure that everything is shipped super quickly to you guys. But it's crazy because the fear that I had of them making a mistake, which I had never even given them a chance yet, was holding me back so much. So I wish I would have let that go sooner. And then for my team, I have Kayla, who is on all the socials for Kosha Fit, because I obviously do my own personal brand content, which takes up so much time. So she's able to make a lot of product specific content. She's a yoga teacher. She knew what the koshas were and she's always loved the brand. So we really attracted each other so perfectly. And then I have Mika, who handles a lot of actually my personal brand stuff, but she does a lot of the kosha stuff. Another assistant named Christelle, who does all of our operations. She also helps with the wholesale side of things. A developer who helps with the website and just any little fixes that we have, especially when there's new drops and we need changes to the website. A photographer who I work with for new drops, and other like little freelancers that I work with kind of on a project basis. I hope this isn't boring to you guys, but I feel like it's really helpful to know like the structure, because when I was at a place where I felt like I had way too much on my plate and I was super overwhelmed, I definitely didn't know how to delegate or build out a team. And then for my personal brand, I have a long form video editor, a short form video editor. Just to put things into perspective for you guys, like the output can become so much higher when you start to delegate. So I'm posting 3 YouTube videos a week, 4 times a day on TikTok, an Instagram reel. This is just now, so this could change, but an Instagram reel, 2 trial Instagram reels. And then I post stories just to keep you guys updated throughout the day, and 5 YouTube shorts. And that's just my personal brand, not what we're posting on Kosha. It's definitely a lot. And there's no way I could keep up with all of that and filming and editing on my own. But think about how many more people I'm able to connect with. And when you are delegating things, this is kind of what the E-Myth book recommends, but helped me so much. I use Loom and Notion as the 2 different softwares to store all the documentation and standard operating procedures so that everything is super organized. Loom, you basically just turn it on and it screen records everything you're doing. So if I'm teaching someone how to edit a video, I could have the screen being recorded, and then I can also type up documentation on Notion so they can watch it and read it to follow along and understand the instruction. It just makes everything so clear. There's way less back and forth because they see exactly what I'm doing. So yeah, pretty much if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, start documenting every single thing you're doing, especially if it's something that you're doing every day you feel like would save a ton of time if you let it go. Once you start delegating and letting these things go, you're going to start realizing how important it is to be working on your business instead of in the day-to-day tasks, because it gives you so much room for creativity, new ideas, and just how you can run your business more efficiently. Also, I highly recommend being the face of your brand. So if you're going to do that, you're definitely going to need other people to help work on the back end. So you can focus on connecting with your community, getting that consumer feedback, and really just getting the word out about your brand. Okay, so I hope all of that's super helpful. Now I'm going to get into the questions that you guys asked. The first one is, do you have investors, or how do you get money for new drops and orders? I got a lot of questions about that. So we are 100% self-funded. I started it, like I said, I was working at Chewy, so I had some money saved up from that and just money saved up from little jobs that I did while I was in college. I think it's a really big misconception that you need like hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a business. Obviously, inventory is expensive, but you can start with smaller batches. And if you're really focused on providing all that free value to your community, you're going to build such a loyal community that those products will sell. And then you're able to keep reinvesting that back into your business. So to this day, we have no investors, and I'm not planning on it. And I think because of that, I'm able to pour so much more love and passion into the business. And it's forced me to really be in it and build it from the ground up instead of having this massive marketing budget that I'm throwing at it. But I had this realization that think about how many people are going to school to be doctors, how many people are going to school to be scientists, how many people are going to be bankers. Now with the power of the internet, really don't see any kind of competition. Like I know there's other amazing activewear brands out there, but I kind of just look at it as I'm in this swim lane and I'm attracting everyone who's meant to wear my products and who connect with my energy. And in that way, I can be so focused on what my community wants instead of looking out to see what all these other trends are and what all the other brands are doing. So I honestly don't feel like competition exists, even though you could say that this market is saturated. I think if you feel passionate and if you feel called to something, there's a reason for that. And there are people that are going to be attracted to and really love what you're building. So I personally would never not start something because it's too crowded or competitive. There's so much space to start. And the way that social media has expanded, the best time to start is now. How do you balance being the face of the brand while also the stuff that you do behind the scenes? There's kind of two things. The first is I always plan out my day the night before. I try to have it done by 6 p.m. so that the next morning I wake up and I know exactly what my day looks like instead of waking up and feeling stressed and overwhelmed. I love to get all my computer work done in the morning while I drink my coffee. So I spend like 3 to 4 hours connecting with my team, getting back to any requests that they have. Any meetings I have with my supplier, I do first thing in the morning. I will look at our ads or just any other things that are more like behind the scenes of the business. And then because it's so beautiful and sunny here, I love to film all my content outside. I like to film in the afternoon when it's peak sunlight, although it's about to be summer. So we'll see if I have to change things up because last year the summer was brutal heat, but I really do just take it day by day. There's some periods where I'm a lot more focused on my personal brand, and then some phases where Kosha requires a lot of my attention, especially like new drops. This was a drop week, so I had a lot of like backend stuff to do, reviewing emails, reviewing SMS, making sure that the website ran smoothly and all of that. Then the other thing I would say, I'm not sure if this person was asking this, but like how I differentiate between what I post on Kosha versus my personal brand. This is something I struggled with finding a balance between for a while. And then I would usually just end up posting on one platform or the other. But I'd say that I love to post my workouts, my wellness tips, really my community building stuff on the personal account where people feel more connected to a human. And then Kosha is kind of funnel that takes them to the product. So the content on there is a lot more product and clothing focused, whereas the stuff on my personal brand is more like vlog style and more like behind the scenes, letting you guys into my life. And then now obviously I have like a full-time social media manager who runs that account. So a lot of it is her content as well. But obviously it's such a big part of my life and I'm wearing the sets every day. So all the content kind of blends together. This next one, I got so many questions from you guys about this. I swear this is like my younger self coming through because you guys need advice on this. So the question is advice for getting over your fear of posting. You guys, I cannot tell you how scared I used to be to post on Instagram. I would start like sweating. I would be like shaking before I post an Instagram reel, which sounds so dumb now, but this was a block that took me forever to get through. And I realized that I was only afraid of judgment or hate comments. And to take that a step further, I realized that the only people that would be judging me or leaving hate comments are people who aren't posting or people who I wouldn't want to connect with anyways. And I realized that I would rather fully express myself and connect with people on social media who are doing similar things to me or that I feel really connected and inspired by, instead of just hiding my entire life and what I feel called to do because of people from high school or college that I probably won't ever see again. And the ironic part is that people who used to say things about me, they're now trying to get into content, and some of them have even reached out to me asking for tips. But once you kind of accept that there's going to be judgment regardless because you're putting yourself out there, you would not believe the amount of opportunities, experiences, people you can meet, confidence, growth, all of these amazing, amazing things that come from social media. I am so, so grateful that I started posting. Like I said, there's never a better time than right now. And just by posting your day to day, you'll kind of figure out what you like best, what your community likes best. And then who knows, eventually it can turn into a massive business for you. But I just think self-expression is so important. Okay, the next one is, I love to hear you talk about mindset. What would you say are your biggest tips for the mindset, I guess? Okay, let me think because I feel like I have so many mindset tips. Okay, first and foremost, meditation. When I say this is a non-negotiable part of my morning routine, it provides me with so much mental clarity and peace going into the day and really makes me feel like I'm in control of my mental health, which is so important when you are leading a team or just in general, how you show up to your friends, family. Meditation to me is like how you fill up your own cup so that you can be in a state of overflow for whatever the day entails. And it's helped me to really see all my thoughts from a higher perspective, which is the fourth kosha, but it really just helps me to detach and figure out what I actually want. And then when I'm connected with my intuition, I'm kind of provided with the next best steps to take that will ultimately take me to success. The second one is that you have to believe in yourself so strongly when you're starting a business. I thought when I started that all of my friends, all of my family would be so supportive of me. And of course, I have so many people in my life who have been, and I'm so grateful for them. But even some people who are your best friends will act like you don't exist when you're posting on social media. I think it's so important to have this baseline feeling that your success is absolutely inevitable, because if you keep feeding yourself with that self-belief, eventually you are going to see the results come to life. But if you're constantly doubting yourself and sitting in this mindset of fear and lack and judgment of your own self, then how do you expect other people to feel attracted to you and your business? It really does all start from within. And be super aware of what your dominant beliefs are. Are you constantly looking at what you don't have, what's not working, why you can't start a business? Or do you have an identity that's super successful special, that everything you touch turns to gold, that you're a magnet for miracles. I feel like society kind of programs us to think that our thoughts aren't that important, but they are truly everything. And the third thing I would say is to let go of perfectionism. I would spend so much time over editing my content, trying to make everything so perfect before I launched it. But people don't really care if something's perfect. They just want to connect with you. Just take the action, and I promise you'll attract the people who are meant to see it. The third one that just came to mind, this is something I think about all the time. I think Jay Shetty was the one who actually said it, and I'm going to butcher it. He definitely said it way better than I'm about to. He basically was talking about how to let go of comparison to others. And he said that when we compare, we're looking at their highlight reel. So like an Instagram post, and comparing it to our behind the scenes, our day to day, everything we know about ourselves and what we've been through. So in order to make a correct comparison, you have to look at every single thing they've done, their mistakes, every aspect of their life, all the obstacles they've faced, their entire backstory. And then you can make a judgment about whether or not you're going to compare yourself. And I guarantee when you look at all of that, it'll really give you some more perspective and help you to calm that ego mind that's just chasing what this other person has. Okay, the last one I'm going to answer is mistakes I've made along the way, because I have some funny ones. There's a few that come to mind. I guess they're funny now because I can laugh at them, but in the moment, they were definitely not funny. The very first product I ever launched, I had my logo on it with the Koshas. I was so proud of it. And after the 5th wash, so I had washed and tested it a few times, but I was like, perfect, it's good to go. After the 5th wash, the logo started like peeling, crackling, and breaking. Oh my God, I was in such a panic. I had no idea what to do because I had already placed the purchase order. That was a disaster. The second one is one time I didn't know that when you're custom dyeing fabric, there's different levels to it. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. I had got this sample, and thank God it was only the sample, but I was on the boat with my family and I was wearing this turquoise set and I was so proud of it. It was such a cute design, the cutest color ever. I had just picked like a Pantone fabric color, and the dye was level 3. I didn't know what that meant. I was like, perfect. We're on the boat and it starts just fading away. And I get to the lunch restaurant and it's basically white. It looks like it was like bleach dyed everywhere. And basically the sun had completely faded the color. That was insane. I was so embarrassed at lunch. And it was one of those things where it's like, how could I have ever predicted or planned for that with no fashion experience? So that was a crazy one. I'm trying to think of one more. Oh, another mistake I would say, maybe this is more of just a lesson, but I never posted on my personal brand for the first 2.5 years of owning a business, which is crazy. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I didn't have a TikTok account for myself. I had that Instagram. I had like 2,000 followers, and I would just go and try to find any Instagram influencer who would agree to getting a gifted product. And I realized during that time that it's definitely about quality, quantity. For example, like sponsoring yoga retreats where all the girls are super into yoga, so aligned with the brand meaning and the mission. They've never gotten free products before. They appreciate it so much. They're telling all their friends about it. Then they're wearing the sets to their yoga classes, and they're all in like a local group, like in Miami, for example. So if you don't have this massive, massive marketing budget, it's such a great way to really get people in a community talking about your brand and your product. So I would just be more intentional about who you're sending the product to and making sure that they are super aligned with your brand values. But I guess I'll just close out the video by giving you guys some general overall advice. I genuinely believe you have to be so passionate and love every piece of the business and really feel called to it in order to make your business a success. I would never just do this for the money. Of course, there's going to be highs and lows, and sometimes it does feel like an emotional roller coaster. But overall, it has allowed me to create the life of my absolute dream. I'm able to impact so many women and hear directly from them how much they love the product. And it just feels so much more fulfilling because I'm in it for such a deep reason, and I feel so emotionally connected to it, and I genuinely believe in it. So just really take that into consideration when you're starting a business and make sure it's something that you could see yourself doing for years. But anyways, I hope this is helpful. I could literally yap about this for hours and hours. So let me know if you guys have any questions, need any advice, or want some more tips. Let me know in the comments, and definitely check out the brand. It's koshafit.com or @koshafit if you want to try it out. I'm so grateful that you're here. And if you stayed through this whole thing, you are going to go so far if you do decide to start a business. I believe in you. I think there's no better time, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.